For us to not have more fuller representation of the Constitution itself, and for that, there's one go-to person here in Massachusetts, and that's our next speaker, Mr. Hal Shurtleff. Let's give it up for Hal.
It's an honor and a privilege to be here again. I think I've been to almost every one. And Dave and I met on a very cold November back in 2009, and we become good friends. In fact, we traveled around New England, New York, and even Pennsylvania speaking on Agenda 21. And in many cases, in the wake of our presentations, the towns had left various UN entities like Italy. So Susan made reference to FBI agents. Does anybody know how you can tell when an FBI agent has come into your local gathering?
They want to blow something up.
That's right. They either want to rob a bank or blow something up. So that's the acid test. You see a number of flags back here, and I want to point out a couple of flags. To my left and your right, this little flag here with the blue field and the deer. Anybody know what that is? Anybody have a... How many people here have studied the Revolutionary War? A lot of people, right? That is actually a flag of an all-black militia from Boston, Massachusetts. And that flag was presented to this militia by John Hancock and his son. It was led by a man named Colonel Middleton. Black History Month doesn't include these types of facts, by the way, and we do at Camp Constitution. Then you see a flag over here with the red cross to your extreme left. Well, this something has become a little near and dear to me. This flag actually comes out of Coney Island, believe it or not. Two good things come out of New York, right? The Nathan's Famous hot dog and this Christian flag. It was created by a Sunday school superintendent in the late 1890s, early 1900s. And most denominations use it. You'll see it flying. Well, back in August of last year, I applied for a permit in the city of Boston. City of Boston have what they call sort of a public access flagpole. 5 years ago, we raised the Gadsden flag. Dave Colpatz participated in that. And we had Garrett Lear, the Patriot pastor, all 6'7", with his firing musket in downtown Boston. No trouble whatsoever. But this time, last year, I tried to get a permit to raise the Christian flag on Constitution, to celebrate the Constitution. Well, it took a month between emails and phone calls, but the official report was it's a violation of church and state, the First Amendment. Now keep in mind, this is the city of Boston where they want open borders, sanctuary cities. So the Constitution, they're not really constitutionalist. Mayor Walsh talks about if Roe versus Wade is repealed, Boston will be a sanctuary city for abortions. That's how bad he is. But when it comes to this, they're keepers of the Constitution. And what's ironic is when they sent me an official no, the city seal has a Bible verse in it. From, I think it's First Kings. It's in Latin, so not too many people know it. But it says basically, may God favor us as he favored our forefathers. And that's it's on the Boston flag too, by the way. That flag's in that same area. So anyway, put out a news release when I got the official no, and a good friend, Lynn Roberts, got a hold of me. She said, get a hold of Liberty Counsel, which is a group that defends people like us. And they took the case. It made the front page of the Boston Herald, no-fly zone. It made WorldNet Daily. The case has not been filed yet, the suit, but it will be. And we like to think we're going to have a whole lot more people. And by the way, one of the persons that pledged to help is an inner-city minister, Pastor Bruce Wall. We need to reach out to the inner cities a lot more than we do. The message of freedom is for all. And like this, how many people in this black community know about an all-black militia? They didn't know. Most of them have no idea. So there's a lot of people here that are a lot more competent on the Second Amendment, the right to keep bear arms. But I want to make a few comments. There's a school shooting, unfortunately, on a regular basis, it seems. And when this happens, some of us go into defensive mode. We should be in offensive mode because it isn't the gun, the availability of guns. It's the byproduct of those government indoctrination centers that used to be called public schools. They are turning out people that do these terrible things. I mean, I have a cousin who was used to always get into fights. He went to Drake High School. He brought his pickup truck with a shotgun on his rack. He never shot anybody. I lived across the street from a school. I had a .22 rifle, which I bought in downtown Boston. I got on the subway, and I bought this rifle with 200 rounds and went on the subway. I never shot anybody, so what's going on? Well, the public schools, the government educational indoctrination centers, they give these mostly boys psychotropics. And almost every shooter, except for the Muslim shooters, are taking these psychotropic drugs. That's the problem, folks. It's Big Pharma that should be held accountable. And also the teachers. For 3 generations, they've been learning that we evolved from monkeys. The United States is evil and responsible for all the wicked things in the world. That we live in a moral and purposeless, indifferent universe. So no wonder the products of that. In fact, I want to point out one of the great resources we have. And by the way, Dave alluded a little bit while. If you are a patriot, a conservative, a Christian, why are your children in government schools? Why are they there? Can your church start a school? Can you homeschool? Can you start a homeschool support group? Because that is where we need to be. And we do homeschool shows all the time, folks. It's a growing movement. And if you're not part of it, be part of it. Because the people that control the schools are your enemies. And I'm not saying the local teachers. There's a lot of good teachers. I'm saying the people in charge of the program. And one of my mentors was the late Sam Blumenfeld. Who has heard of Sam Blumenfeld? Well, on his deathbed, I pledged to him that your message is going to influence generations yet unborn. And because he willed me his library, and thanks to some high-tech people involved with our camp newspaper editor Mark Affleck and our webmaster Eric Conover, we created the Sam Blumenfeld Archives. It's a free online resource. You can teach people how to read the proper way through phonics. You can learn how to do cursive. They don't teach cursive anymore, because you might read some of those organic documents, you see. And also basic arithmetic, no common core. And it's probably about a month's worth of his speeches in audio and video. Please go online, campconstitution.net, and see the Sam Blumenfeld drop down and share it with people. Last year we got 2 million views. 2 million views, and this year we're set to break those. Okay. We, in the Camp Constitution, we take the whole Constitution, not just one amendment, not just 2 or 3 amendments. And one of the biggest problems we have in this country is constitutional illiteracy. And it's part of our goal to help in us whatever way we can to stop that. I was in Liberty University last week. One of my girls is going there. She's been accepted. They had an all-day orientation. In the evening, I went to a local minor league baseball game, and there was a lady running for Congress passing out her little pamphlets. I said to her, I asked her, I love asking politicians these questions. I said, where do you find the job description for a member of Congress? She had no idea what I was talking about. So let me rephrase that. Where do you find the duties and responsibilities of a member of Congress? Then she looked at me, she said, online? I said, well, yeah, you could find it online, but you'd find it in the Constitution. She had no idea. Now, about 4 years ago, Scott Brown, he had been a U.S. Senator from Massachusetts. He moves to New Hampshire, where we had a table at a fair, and we have a little famous 10-question quiz, which we have over here at the table. He wouldn't go near it. It was like a vampire in garlic. He didn't want to touch it, right? Then there was a person running for the Senate in this state. I won't embarrass this person. This person was at an event where I had a chance to ask questions. And I asked about free trade issues. This person went on to say how qualified, more qualified than any other candidate, part of the Romney administration and all these things that this person did. This person had no idea about the duties of a senator. Has a lot of powers, and approving treaties is one of them. No idea. I did get a nice conversation about a week later after there was a pledge to call me, and I just saw this person a few days ago. They have lots of constitutions now, so hopefully they'll start reading them and obeying them. Oh, by the way, at Liberty University they had a parents' orientation. A woman raised her hand and she said, what about guns on campus? And the campus security chief, the police chief of campus, it's a huge campus, He said, liberty will never be a gun-free zone. Ever. And there was an applause. Can you imagine that happening at Harvard? Or Northeastern? Or University of Massachusetts, Amherst? I said, I think we chose the right school for our daughter. Actually, my daughter chose a school, not me. This year's camp is going to be in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. This is our 10th annual camp. Visit our YouTube channel, and you can see what we've done over the years. Many of our classes, in fact, one class, Professor Willie Soon, who's returning, he gave 2 classes last year. One of them has over 120,000 views on YouTube. He was refuting the global warming, climate change nonsense. But this year we think the best lineup that we've ever had. We have a British Lord coming, Lord Christopher Monckton. Now you say, wait a minute, guys. Hal, you're supposed to be a camp that promotes the Constitution. What do you got a British Lord coming here? Well, Lord Monckton spoke in Minneapolis a few years ago, and he said to the American audience, if we lose the Constitution, the world will be in a dark age. So that's why I have him here. He's a brilliant man, and he's going to volunteer his time too. He's also going to be speaking for the Worcester Tea Party on that Thursday. I think it's August 9th in the evening at a restaurant. He'll be at a few other places too. So visit our website and our Facebook page to get more information on that. Then we have Professor Soon, who's returning. Willie Soon is one of the top climate realists in the world. It was interesting. Last year we become pretty good friends. And I offered to take him shooting up at our camp doctor's place up in New Hampshire. He's got his own private range. In fact, he said policemen come because they shoot things here where they can't shoot on their range. And I asked him how many guns he has. He says with this beautiful southern drawl, ask me how many I don't have, that's a lot easier. And he says, I have some weapons that the government frowns upon. But anyway, so Willie Soon was invited to speak in Moscow, Russia, by the city of Moscow, not by citizens. And instead of going there, he decided to go shooting with his 2 sons. And in his stead was, to fill in for him, was Lord Christopher Monckton. I said, Willie, you got to be a pretty important guy when your backup quarterback is a British Lord. You know? So, also Mrs. Chris Ann Hall, who is known by a lot of people, a constitutional scholar, attorney. She'll be there. This will be her 4th year. She couldn't make it last year. Her 4th year, and she usually brings her family, her son and husband as well. And we have Dr. Duke Pesta. He'll be there just for 2 days. He's going to be in and out, but he is probably the top expert on the dangers of Common Core. So definitely. And then we have we have Michael King of the Massachusetts Family Institute. We have Pastor Earl Wallace, who's a author from Schenectady. So I say that because we have a king, a duke, an earl, and a lord. And if we have a knight or a prince, we'll be welcome to have them too. So we have other activities which include a hike up I always say Mount Monadnock, Mount Greylock, a trip. We hope that your husband will give us a tour of the Norman Rockwell Museum. We're also taking a field trip to the Battle of Bennington site, and it's a great place. We have a lot of recreational opportunities, so please, it's a family camp or also unaccompanied minors. And if you don't have anybody, why don't you make it possible for somebody who should be there? We've never turned away a worthy family or camper for lack of funds, and we hope we never do. Now with that, I just want to invite you over to the book table, where my very beautiful young teenage daughter, put your hand up, has been helping, who's a camper. We have some great materials. One of them is a book written by that wicked Pastor Scott Lively called The Pink Swastika. Now, since Scott has been getting into the news lately, there are some people in the liberal Republican circles that think he's a horrid man because he wrote this horrible book. And there's 2 postings recently. He said, did you see this book he wrote? It's horrible. I offered to give them free copies. I said, I'll mail you a free copy. Somehow they don't take the time to say, message me, because they're really not interested in reading what he really said about this issue. How many people know the name of Dr. Michael Kaufman? Dr. Michael Kaufman is one of the unsung heroes of America. Back in the mid-90s, he almost by himself, he and about 3 or 4 others, stopped the Biodiversity Treaty, which was going to be passed right through the Senate. He passed away, and he was also an instructor at Camp Constitution. He passed away last June. His wife sent me a lot of his material, and one of the best books he ever did is Saviors of the Earth. This is the sort of the philosophical, spiritual underpinnings of the militant environmentalist agenda. So I have some of these available. Take a look. I have copies of this magazine called The New American, and some people see this police state issue and they say, oh, this must be hot off the presses, right? No, it's dated 1993. And in the middle of that, stitched in, is a document called 7277. How many people have heard of this State Department document? There's always a couple of hands, but not many. You should be aware of this because this is the official policy of the U.S. government. It has been since 1961. This was done in the Kennedy administration. Number one, the confiscation of weapons, except in the hands of police. Number two, a UN standing army. That's right. And this isn't some conspiracy theory. It's in their own document. So I've got about a half a dozen of these available. So please take them and get acquainted with my dear late friend, Sam Blumenfeld. Learn about what he had to offer because he did a phenomenal job. And with that, I want to thank you for listening. And may God bless you. And please visit our table.